You probably think a car wash makes money every time someone drives in, pays $15, and gets their car cleaned. And technically, that's true. But here's the strange part. A modern car wash can cost several $1,000,000 to build, require expensive land, sophisticated machinery, water treatment systems, payment technology, insurance, maintenance, and debt payments. And yet the most important thing the owner may be selling isn't actually the car wash. It's convenience, frequency, and recurring payments. Because once you understand the economics, a car wash starts to look less like a place that cleans cars and more like a machine designed to turn a piece of real estate, a few minutes of automation, and thousands of recurring customers into cash flow. So let's follow the money. How much does it actually cost to own one? Where does the revenue come from? How much does each car really contribute? And perhaps most importantly, why are investors so interested in a business that on the surface seems as simple as spraying soap on a car? The business you see isn't the business you're buying. The first thing to understand is that there isn't just one type of car wash. There are self-service washes where customers do most of the work themselves. There are automatic in-bay washes where the customer parks and a machine moves around the vehicle. There are full-service operations where employees wash or clean the inside of the car. And then there is the model that has become particularly interesting from an investment perspective: the express exterior tunnel. You drive in. You choose a package. A conveyor pulls your vehicle through the tunnel. Machines apply chemicals, water, brushes or cloth, and dryers. You drive out. And sometimes you get free vacuums afterward. The important economic difference is speed. A restaurant needs employees to prepare food for every customer. A traditional detailing business needs employees to physically clean every vehicle. An express tunnel is trying to move as many cars as possible through a relatively automated system. That's a completely different economic model. The International Car Wash Association estimates that the US has roughly 17,500 conveyor car washes, alongside tens of thousands of in-bay automatic and self-service locations. Hiep hoi rua se quote. And the reason investors care about this model becomes obvious when you look at the basic equation. More cars through the same physical asset can mean more revenue without proportionally increasing labor. That is the foundation of the business. So what are customers actually buying? At first, it looks simple. The customer pays for a wash, maybe $10, maybe $20, maybe more for a premium package. But the business isn't really selling soap and water, it's selling a solution to a recurring problem. Your car gets dirty. You don't want to wash it yourself. You want it cleaned quickly, and you may want it cleaned again next week. That last part is extremely important, because frequency changes the economics. Imagine a customer who pays $15 once. That's $15 of revenue. Now imagine that customer becomes a member and pays $30 every month. Suddenly, the business isn't trying to convince that person to buy a wash every Saturday. The customer has already made the decision. The payment becomes recurring. And that creates something every business owner loves: predictable revenue. This is why modern car washes increasingly emphasize memberships. The membership isn't just a discount. From the owner's perspective, it can transform an unpredictable stream of individual transactions into a recurring revenue base. And that brings us to the first big money lesson. The most valuable customer isn't necessarily the person who pays the most today. It can be the customer who keeps paying tomorrow. Now let's talk about the really big number, startup cost. Here's where the dream gets expensive. You might imagine that building a car wash means buying a machine, pouring some concrete, putting up a sign, and opening the doors. Not even close. For a new express tunnel, the total investment can easily reach several $1,000,000. Recent 2026 estimates put many ground-up express tunnel projects in roughly the $3 million to $7 million range, with some projects reaching higher depending on land, construction, equipment, and location. These are market estimates, not universal industry prices. Legal clarity. And here's what's fascinating. The building itself isn't necessarily the biggest problem. The real estate matters. The site matters. The infrastructure matters. The equipment matters. The water system matters. The traffic pattern matters. And all of those things have to work together. Imagine you spend $1.5 million on a piece of land. then another $1.2 million on construction and site work, then hundreds of thousands of dollars on equipment. Then you add payment systems, water reclamation, vacuums, signage, permits, engineering, insurance, technology, and working capital. Suddenly, your little car wash has become a multi-million-dollar capital project. Some current industry estimates place tunnel equipment alone in the hundreds of thousands to more than $1 million, while water reclamation systems, payment technology, and vacuum infrastructure can add substantial additional costs. Equipment finance HQ. And this is where location becomes critical, because a car wash doesn't just need land, it needs the right land. The most important asset may be the road. Imagine two identical car washes. Same tunnel, same equipment, same prices, same number of employees. One sits on a major road with heavy traffic and easy access. The other sits behind a shopping center where customers have to make 3 turns just to find it. Which one would you rather own? Probably the first. And that's why real estate is such an important part of the economics. A car wash depends on convenience. Customers don't usually drive 15 minutes out of their way because your soap is better. They want the wash to be somewhere they already pass. On the way to work, on the way home, near a grocery store, near a major intersection, near residential neighborhoods. So the land isn't simply a place to put the building. The land is part of the revenue engine. That's one of the hidden economics of the business. Now follow the money into the car wash. Let's build a hypothetical example. This is an illustrative model, not a claim about a typical individual car wash. Suppose an express tunnel processes an average of 300 paid vehicle visits per day. At an average realized revenue of $18 per visit, that's 300 does $18, 5,400 per day. Multiply that by 30 days. You're looking at approximately $162,000 per month, or around $1.97 million per year. That sounds fantastic, but we're not done, because revenue is not profit. Not even close, and this is where most people get the economics wrong. The membership machine. Let's change the example. Suppose 2,500 customers are paying an average of $30 per month for memberships. That's 2,500 cut to $30 equals $75,000 per month, or $900,000 per year. Now imagine another $800,000 to $1 million comes from retail customers, premium upgrades, fleet accounts, and other transactions. Suddenly, the business could have a revenue base approaching $2 million. And something interesting happens. The membership customer may visit more often than a retail customer, but the cost of processing another vehicle through an automated tunnel can be relatively low compared with the price the customer pays. Water, chemicals, electricity, maintenance, payment processing, labor. Those costs exist, but you don't necessarily need a completely new building for every additional customer. And that's the magic of operating leverage. The expensive asset already exists. The question becomes, how much can you push through it? The cost of every wash. Now let's follow the money out. First, chemicals, soap, waxes, drying agents, tire treatments, ceramic products, and other chemicals cost money. Then water. And water isn't as simple as turning on a garden hose. Commercial car washes need pumps, plumbing, drainage, treatment systems, and often water reclamation infrastructure. Then there's electricity. Those dryers aren't free to operate. Neither are pumps, compressors, lighting, payment systems, vacuum systems, heating equipment, or other machinery. Then comes maintenance. And this one is easy to underestimate. A car wash is basically a small industrial factory designed to process vehicles. There are pumps, motors, conveyors, sensors, belts, brushes, sprayers, dryers, payment kiosks, doors, vacuum systems, water treatment equipment. If one critical component fails on a busy Saturday afternoon, the business can lose revenue precisely when demand is highest. Then there's labor, and this is where automation becomes financially important. An express tunnel still needs employees. Someone has to guide vehicles. Someone needs to handle problems. Someone needs to keep the property clean. Someone needs to monitor equipment. But compared with a highly labor-intensive full-service operation, the express model is designed to reduce how much labor is required per vehicle, and that can dramatically change the economics. High revenue doesn't mean high profit. Let's take our hypothetical $1.97 million revenue. Suppose the business has $300,000 in labor and payroll-related costs, $180,000 in rent or property-related costs, $150,000 in utilities, outer and chemicals, $150,000 in repairs and maintenance, $100,000 in insurance, marketing, technology, and other operating expenses. That's roughly $880,000 of operating expenses. That would leave around $1.09 million before certain additional expenses, taxes, depreciation, and financing costs. Again, this is a simplified illustration. Real businesses vary dramatically. But now we can see something important. A business that generates nearly $2 million in revenue doesn't automatically put $2 million into the owner's pocket. And if the owner borrowed several $1,000,000 to build the facility, there's another person waiting for the money, the lender. The debt problem. Let's say the owner needs $4 million to build the business. They don't necessarily have $4 million sitting in a bank account, so they borrow. Now imagine the business has a large monthly debt payment. That payment doesn't care whether it's raining. It doesn't care whether customers are staying home. It doesn't care whether a major repair just happened. The loan payment arrives anyway. This is the dangerous side of leverage. Debt can make a great business grow faster, but debt can also turn a temporary slowdown into a serious cash flow problem. Imagine a car wash doing $170,000 per month. Then a competitor opens across the street. Prices fall. Membership growth slows. Traffic drops. Revenue falls to $120,000. Your equipment doesn't suddenly become cheaper. Your land payment doesn't disappear. Your insurance doesn't necessarily fall. Your loan payment certainly doesn't ask for permission. So a business that looked incredibly profitable at 100% capacity can become much less attractive when volume drops. The break-even number. This is the number that really matters. Let's say, purely for illustration, that after accounting for variable wash costs, each vehicle contributes about $13 toward covering fixed expenses. And suppose the operation has $100,000 in monthly fixed costs, including the appropriate combination of occupancy, management, insurance, debt service, and other fixed expenses. Then the simplified break-even volume would be $100,000, $13, that's roughly 7,700 vehicle transactions per month, or around 257 vehicles per day. Below that level, the business could be losing money. Above it, each additional vehicle can contribute more toward profit. And that's why traffic count matters so much, because the owner isn't simply asking, how many people live around here? They're asking, how many cars can I realistically capture? And then there's the membership effect. Now imagine that 2,000 of those customers are members. They're already paying every month. Even if they don't all visit every week, the revenue is being collected continuously. That changes the owner's relationship with demand. A traditional business wakes up every morning wondering how many customers will arrive. A membership-heavy car wash can start the month with a portion of its revenue already committed. That's incredibly valuable. But there's a catch. Memberships only work if customers continue to perceive value. If the customer stops using the service, they may cancel. And if too many competitors offer similar memberships for less money, the customer has options. So the membership model creates predictable revenue, but it doesn't create guaranteed loyalty. The hidden economics of unlimited. Here's one of the most interesting parts. Suppose a customer pays $30 a month for unlimited washes. They wash twice. The economics look pretty good. They wash 4 times. Still potentially attractive. They wash 8 times. Now the business has to think carefully about the cost of servicing that customer. This is why unlimited doesn't literally mean unlimited cost. The operator is betting that average usage across the membership base will remain economically manageable. Some members barely use the service. Some use it frequently. The business makes its money from the behavior of the entire customer pool. This is similar to the economics behind gyms, streaming services, insurance, and other recurring revenue models. The business isn't predicting exactly what every customer will do. It's managing the average, and that is a powerful economic concept. The free vacuum isn't really free. Walk into an express car wash and you might see rows of free vacuum stations. At first glance, that looks like a cost. And it is. Equipment, electricity, maintenance, space, cleaning. But strategically, the vacuum area can also be a retention tool. It gives customers another reason to choose your location, and it increases the perceived value of the membership. The customer isn't thinking, "I'm paying for a tunnel wash." They're thinking, "I'm paying for the convenience of keeping my car clean." That's a subtle but important difference, because the business is selling an experience, not just a chemical process. Bad year, normal year, great year. Let's see how the same business can look completely different under 3 scenarios. Bad year. Suppose traffic drops significantly, membership growth stalls, a major piece of equipment fails, and a competitor starts aggressive discounting. Revenue falls. Meanwhile, debt payments, insurance, property expenses, and certain labor costs remain. The business can move from attractive to uncomfortable very quickly. Normal year, traffic is stable, memberships grow gradually, equipment runs reliably, prices remain competitive. The business produces healthy cash flow. This is where the economics start looking attractive. Great year. Now imagine the location becomes a dominant player in the market. Membership reaches several thousand customers. Retail traffic remains strong. Premium packages increase average revenue per vehicle. The tunnel processes high volumes without requiring proportionally more labor. Revenue rises faster than certain fixed costs. Now you have operating leverage, and that's when the economics become really interesting. But what if the business doesn't own the land? Here's another hidden question. Some owners buy the real estate, others lease it. Those two strategies can produce very different economics. If you own the land, you need more capital up front. But you also own an appreciating asset that isn't limited to the car wash operation. If the car wash fails, the property may still have value. If the car wash succeeds, you potentially benefit from both operating income and real estate value. But buying expensive land can also create enormous debt. Leasing requires less upfront capital. But now part of your operating cash flow goes to the landlord, and the lease terms matter. A great car wash on a terrible lease can still be a bad investment. This is why sophisticated investors don't only ask, "How much profit does the car wash generate?" They ask, "What exactly do I own?" Jensi, the biggest risk isn't soap. It isn't even the equipment. It's location economics combined with fixed costs. Imagine building a $5 million facility because traffic projections look amazing. Then a new road changes traffic patterns. A shopping center closes. A competitor opens nearby. The local market becomes saturated. Or the property was simply never as good as the developer believed. You can't easily move a tunnel car wash. The equipment may be expensive, but the real estate is fixed. That's why site selection can determine whether the same business model becomes a great investment or an expensive mistake. And this is where the business becomes a real estate play. Here's the big reveal. A car wash may look like a cleaning business, but the economics of a modern express car wash are much closer to a combination of real estate plus automation plus recurring revenue plus high-volume retail. The tunnel is the machine. The memberships are the recurring revenue. The location is the distribution network, and the land is the physical platform. Once you see it this way, the business starts making much more sense. You're not simply buying a machine that washes cars, you're buying access to a predictable flow of vehicles, and you're trying to convert that traffic into recurring revenue. So, is owning a car wash actually a good business? The answer is, it can be. But it isn't easy money. A successful express car wash can benefit from automation, recurring memberships, high customer frequency, and operating leverage. But the upfront investment can be enormous. The location has to work. The equipment has to work. The debt has to be manageable. The membership base has to remain healthy. And the owner has to maintain the property and equipment constantly. A small self-service operation has completely different economics from a multi-million-dollar express tunnel. So there's no single answer to how profitable is a car wash. The better question is, which car wash, in which location, with what capital structure, serving how many customers? because those variables determine the economics. The final lesson, and this is what makes the car wash such an interesting business. From the street, it looks incredibly simple. A car enters, water comes out, soap comes out, the customer pays, the car leaves. But underneath that simple transaction is an entire financial machine. Millions of dollars of capital, real estate, debt, equipment, labor, utilities, maintenance, customer acquisition, memberships, recurring revenue, and operating leverage. The owner isn't really trying to make money from one car. They're trying to build a system where thousands of cars pass through the same expensive asset over and over again. That's the real business. And once you understand that, you start seeing car washes differently. Because the shiny tunnel isn't the story. The free vacuum isn't the story. Even the twin wash isn't the story. The story is the money moving underneath all of it. If you had several $1 million to invest, would you actually buy a car wash? Or would you put that money somewhere else? And what business should we follow the money through next? Subscribe to Money Behind, because the most interesting part of a business is often the part customers never see.